Now, I didn't hit the target.
Spoiler, you got COVID?
Yeah, they are testing me every week. The first week I test positive. I'm calling home every night on my new phone to my wife, crying like a little baby. The number one question people ask me is, what if you lost everything? What would you do? I don't have to tell anybody what I would do now. I can show them. You're going to see over 12 weeks exactly what I do.
Okay, Believe Nation, I got a special guest with me here today. You know him, Uncle G, GC, Grant Cardone in the house, star of the new show, Undercover Billionaire, season 2. How you doing, Grant?
Good, buddy. Good to see you. Good to appreciate you, spending some time with me. And, I'm a big fan. So I know you got that red wall. The red wall is going to be all awards, right?
The red wall is going to be all the YouTube awards. It's happening.
I think I have one. I could have won.
Well, listen, we got to launch Grant Cardone in Spanish and Grant Cardone in Russian, and we got to get some more channels going.
Dude, is that what you're doing? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I got a Russian channel and a Spanish channel with 500,000 each, and then niche stuff. That's so you awesome. Can have like the Grant Cardone real estate channel, the Grant Cardone marketing channel, and the Grant Cardone, Path to Billion channel, all that stuff. Anyway, I wanted to quickly share before we dive in. Somebody asked me on Instagram, and I know you saw this, but I want to share with the audience. Somebody asked me on Instagram, what have you learned from Grant Cardone? And I said, what I love about Grant Cardone is he's always driving for the next big scary thing. He's a good guy too.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. A lot of people don't know a good guy, but you do. Yeah. Grant is a really good guy. People don't see it. Grant doesn't show that side, but deep down, he's actually a really, really good guy. You saved me a couple times with relationships and connections that's been super helpful for me. So, I'm always happy to spread the message and give you love. Talking about doing the next big scary thing, though, you got this awesome show coming up, Undercover Billionaire. Yeah, it's a wild ride, bro. Like January, they came to me and said, "Hey, we have you as somebody that might do this." They were talking to a couple different people. I think you know a couple of them.
Yeah.
I didn't know a guy named Angus came to me. He works with a company called TIJAT. They're a production company out of LA. And he's like, "Look, man, you're my first choice to do this show." A guy named Glenn Stearns did it last year. I didn't know who Glenn was. Glenn ran a big mortgage company back 20 years ago and made a bunch of money. I'd never even heard of the show. He said, Undercover Billionaire. I said, "Oh, I think I saw that show." He's like, "No, not Undercover Boss, Undercover Billionaire." He knew immediately I had it, disassociated. He's like, Discovery did this show last year, 2018. It was a big hit. It was Discovery's first hit in 3 or 4 years. That really got my attention. What interested me was that they already had a hit, meaning they had to go feed the dog. You got to feed the beast, dude. Once you got Shamu at SeaWorld, then Shamu's got to be fed, and that SeaWorld will take care of Shamu because Shamu's going to sell tickets. So I'm like, okay, this is even better. It's a second season. They're already pot committed. I'm doing my business. So they're going to promote the hell out of this show. So I'm like, I'm totally interested. I said, "Look, I'll do the show." And the guy's like, "You don't even know what I want you to do." I said, "Shit, man, what's it called?" Undercover Billionaire. I said, "It sounds good." I said, "The only thing I need to tell you guys, you can't call me a billionaire if I'm not a billionaire." And he's like, "Bro, we're not changing the name of the show just because you ain't a billionaire yet." He's like, everything I see online, like you've done billions of dollars of real estate transactions. I'm like, "Yeah, that's true." He's like, "Good enough. Do you want to do the show?" And he's like, "Before you say yes, you should go watch last year." I'm like, "Dude, I don't need to watch it." He's like, "Please go watch it." So this was January. This is the year 2020 is going to be the best year of mankind. This is all pre-COVID. There hadn't been a pandemic yet. The country hadn't got shut down. So I go watch the first 3 minutes of this show, and I see the promo piece they do on this guy, Glenn Stearns, billionaire, blah, 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 mortgage business. He's getting off of his jet, getting on a helicopter to his yacht. I'm like, I'm doing this show. The first 2 minutes going to make me look good. As the show goes on, they drop this guy off in a city, dude, and they take away his credit cards, his money, his driver's license. He can't use his name, can't use his phone. And I'm like, whoa. And it got real scary. So I called my wife. I said, "Hey, I think I want to do this show." They want me to do it. I know they're going to pour some money behind their promotion. And what do you think? You know? And she's like, well, how long will you be gone? I said, I'll be gone 3 months, but I'll try to get you guys out there. I was so naive about the whole thing. I thought I was going to be able to bring my family out and do this. So we started shooting in March, dude. It was the worst and best experience of my entire lifetime. And I would never do it again, by the way.
Why the worst and why the best?
So it was the worst experience because, and this is all before COVID, okay? It was the worst experience because I just completely underestimated and forgot what it's like not to have anything. I completely had lost touch with what people go through every day. You know, I had $100. I couldn't use my name. One thing I learned was like some of the things that we take for granted. And as soon as I say that, everybody's like, oh yeah, we take so much for granted, like our health and food and water and shelter. I'm not even talking about that, dude. I'm talking about your name. Every time I went up to somebody, I had to use a different name, and which immediately put me at uncertainty and into a lie. I mean, the ability just to tell the truth to people every day is you know, we take it for granted. Like not to mention water. I had no water. I had no shelter. It was 15 degrees outside. I had no place to sleep. I knew no one. Couldn't use my name. Couldn't use any of my past success. Couldn't even use my past failures. When communicating, my authenticity and transparency, the things that I really rely on are to, you know, that I figured out how to tell the truth to people, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, I am who I am all the time, and I couldn't be me. So that was the hard part of being away from my family. Was extremely difficult.
They give you $100. Did they give you a truck or a car or something?
Yeah, it's an all beat up truck, dude. That can't be worth more than, you know, if it's worth $2,000, I'm shocked.
So they give you a truck, $100. You can't use your name, and in 90 days you have to build $1 million valuation business. That's the thing.
And I bet $1 million that if I come up short, if I come up one penny short on $1 million, I got to throw $1 million in.
So if you don't make the million, you got to put in $1 million.
There's going to be an evaluator come in at the end of the last show, or I don't know how they cut it up, but if I haven't seen any of this, by the way.
If Vegas was going to put odds on you getting the $1 million valuation, what do you think the odds should be? Does GC hit the $1 million in 90 days?
That's a great question, by the way. No, that's an ask it. I don't think the odds would be. Maybe your audience.
Obviously, you know the results, so we can't share the results before the show comes out. But what do you think the odds would be?
Well, I'll tell everybody right now. I didn't hit the target.
You didn't hit the target. Spoiler.
So in Discovery, by the way, they hate me saying this.
Yeah.
Like they hate it. They're like, you signed an NDA. You said that. I said, okay, whatever, dude. I mean, we're gonna sue me. I don't think you're gonna sue me.
So Glenn didn't hit the target either. The first guy.
No, Glenn didn't hit the target. And I do it completely different than Glenn. I learned a lot watching the show, by the way. When I watched Glenn, I was literally taking notes. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, do that. Do that. That worked. This didn't work. That worked. And so, you know, the other thing that people are not going to know unless we do things like this, dude, I got so lost in this thing that I'm still ruined from it. I'm a little over the whole deal, actually. And it's been, you got to remember, we started this in March before COVID was even a thing. And then as I was there in this city, COVID started showing up in the news. 14 days into it, I picked up my first check on the second week. It was a substantial check too. I had my first momentum, like after 10 or 11 days, and they shut the whole thing down. And I'm like, what? Dude, it's over. It's over. I'm saying, what do you mean it's over? Okay. Now I'm calling home every night on my new phone to my wife, crying like a little baby. I can't do this. She literally kept me in the deal for the first 2 weeks. I finally got my first score. I called her. I said, dude, I just got a score. This is going to work. I'm going to be a star. People are going to love me. Right. And then the same day they walk up, Discovery came up to me and said, it's over. I said, what do you mean it's over? We got to pull the plug. We can't shoot. COVID, the country's going to get shut down. COVID's going rampant. We can't do this anymore. I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm doing this thing. They're like, you can do it if you want to. We're out of here.
Wow.
So what are you going to stay and just keep? There's not going to be any cameras, so you're not going to document it. It won't be on the show. It won't matter. We'll call you back in a couple of months when we can come back. Maybe we can come back in 2 weeks. So I had to go home. COVID hit. 40 will be unemployed. Big economic contraction since the Great Depression. And then they call me 2 months later. You want to do it again? My hair was just starting to grow back. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that again. That was the worst experience of my life. Because what happened is I got into it so big time. Like I got so in this role of being broke and having nothing and having to make it. And I literally forgot that in my waiting for me was Grant Cardone. Like it's a bizarre kind of weird phenomenon that kind of took over. Because I really took on the whole idea that, hey, dude, like there's a lot of people every day in America and in Canada and around the world that don't have anything. And they don't know where their next paycheck's going to come from, their next meal is going to come from. I didn't know that. I didn't know where I was going to eat.
You mentioned you're still messed up from it and recovering.
Yeah.
How so now? Like you're back to the real world, or maybe back to the Grant Cardone world. How are you still messed up from the experience?
Dude, because every once in a while, I just like, I my wife has to tell me, hey, everything's all right. Like it's all right. Okay. Everything's all right. Like something happened in this thing. I'm reassessing my life. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing every day? Like I will never, ever, I literally lost 84 days with my kids. And I'll never do that again. That will not happen. So I would never do the deal again, by the way. Okay. I would never, if they came back to me and said, do this show again, we'll pay you to do it. I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. I would tell people, don't do this thing. This thing is insane. If you've ever lost everything and had to be without your family, without your friends, without your employees, without the people that support you every day, and you had to start over from nothing, it's not something you want to actually do.
The Stoic philosophers used to have a practice of every now and then basically being homeless and sleeping outside and having nothing, just to remind themselves that life isn't over if I were to lose everything, and it gave them more courage to actually live the life that they wanted. Do you agree with that? Or he's like, no, I never want to go back and do that again.
No, I mean, like I understand that they're doing that for, it's like fasting for a day, but you're going to eat tomorrow. Mm-hmm. See, the difference here is this wasn't a day or two. This was 90 days that turned out to be 5 or 6 months. Because when they stopped it and started it again, in the period of time they're going to start again, I've started some relationships in the town that I was in, and I can't now talk to them. And I'm coming back to my own problems mid-COVID. I got 7 little companies right here. We have 150 and we lost an entire division during COVID. We lost people. So I'm managing. Am I going to go back and do this thing with Discovery? Oh, I got to manage my own problems. I got 8,000 apartments. I got, the legal system's talking about no evictions. Renters don't have to pay. Freaking world's coming apart. My own world, that world. I didn't know whether I was going back, staying here. Like all of a sudden I added something that the monk knows. Oh, dude, I'm going to the monastery, on Saturday. Whether I was going back, coming back, gonna finish this, not finish this. Didn't know if I finished this year in 2020 because of COVID. I got sick during the whole event.
You got COVID?
Yeah, I got COVID when they called up and said, you ready to go it again? I said, dude, I ain't doing that deal again. I'm not shaving my head again. I don't think it has to be different. I go back and they are testing me every week. The first week I test positive.
Wow.
Everything about this thing was insane. Me and the production crew fought constantly. Like nobody's gonna ever see this. Like they hated me, I hated them. Like it was terrible.
What did you fight over?
everything. Like you're a maniac, dude. Like you got to slow down. We got people here that need to follow you. People are being put at risk because of you. I'm like, yeah, that's the real world. I said, look, follow me. Like we're shooting a TV show. I said, you guys are shooting a TV show. $1 million on the line and my brand. Okay. So if you need to get an extra set of battery cameras, more people, you need to have a shift that works during the day and another shift that works at night. Do whatever you got to do. I am not going to lose $1 million. I'm going to build $1 million business. I put during COVID, otherwise I'm going to screw my brand up. Okay. So I either have to die, like I have to go down in flames trying to pull this off and look good if I start. Or I got to 10X, one of the two, but I can't look bad. So you guys and your cameras and your batteries and your union rules and policies, and sorry you're being put at risk. So it was constant, like, and I have ideas about how to produce stuff, you know? So, and they have ideas about how they want to produce something.
You know how their producers said, hey, Grant, you should watch season 1 before you come out just to know what you're getting into? I feel like they should have had the crew watch Grant Cardone videos before they got into it so they know what they're getting into. Because telling Grant to slow down is probably not a good strategy.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like one of the hardest things doing it was just staying not recognizable. So, you know, these LA people, these LA production people, they're a little resentful. TV people can be a little resentful of successful people. And I have, you know, I'm a very opinionated. I'm like, guys, why are we doing that? Watch me, follow me. Okay. You can't produce me. Just come. And they're like, the thing we fought about was money. Give me $100. I didn't spend the $100. And if you saw the first season, I don't know, did you watch it?
I did. Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. So, you know, on the first day, $100 becomes $88. Day 2, 64. Day 3, 41. They love that picturesque, oh, he's going down. Well, I didn't spend the $100. Okay. They're like, when are you going to spend that 100? I said, dude, I ain't never going to spend 100. We ain't never tapping that 100. Okay. I don't need, they're like, well, you got to see it. It messed up their way to cut or shoot a show. And I'm like, guys, $100 can't anybody. I don't even know why you guys gave me 100. Why didn't you just take me to zero right out of the gate? Like, I don't need $100. I need to build our business. Like, but when are you going to spend the 100? I said, no, the goal is not to spend the 100 or save it. The goal is to build $1 million business. So I'm not going to manage $100. This is what my mom did her whole life and why she never got ahead. She basically saved money and didn't want to spend. And I'm like, look, saving or spending is not the issue here. Creating is the issue. Follow me. And then I'm off to meeting people, trying to produce some business, right? And then they would ask me things like, well, what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do about starting a business? I ain't got any ideas. I don't even know where I'm going. And they're like, what are you going to do when you get there? I'm going to go meet people. But what kind of business are you going to create? I don't know. How would I know that right now? Like it would take me like 5 weeks to figure out what kind of business I'm going to even do. And that's not TV for them. See, they want to tell this story. And the story of the entrepreneur is not always laid out so succinctly.
If you think about, there's a lot of people who watch your content on a daily basis on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere that you are. A lot of them are in that situation right now where they're homeless or they're trying to get started. They don't have a lot of money, or maybe they have $100 to their name. What piece of typical Grant Cardone advice, if you look at kind of the themes that you normally talk about, what Grant Cardone advice is the best one?
The lifeblood of this show should be who's got my money. And you're going to see me, I don't think I ever even term there, but this is literally who's got my $1 million. There's one where I actually create this sign. I will work for 1 million in my old truck.
I love
So,
it.
so look, I'm going to show people like literally when you finish watching, you're going to be like, and the one reason I'm really glad I did this, by the way, is because the number one question people ask me is, what if you lost everything? What would you do? I don't have to tell anybody what I would do now. I can show them. You're going to see over 12 weeks exactly what I do to go from zero to building something.
And how important was, you mentioned Elena a while back, your wife, how important was her support in this whole thing? I think a lot of entrepreneurs getting started don't have that. How important was her help through this process?
You know, it was very, on one hand, it was very important. I felt like she just kept saying, stay. And after a while, I'm like, dude, do you know what I'm going through here? Like, where is the empathy? Where is the freaking caring about me? I need somebody to hold me right now. I was dying, bro. Like, you're going to see me break down multiple times in this thing, for real. And I'm laughing about it now because I made it through. But every time she would tell me, just hang in there, you know, you can do it. I'd be like, I'd hang up on her sometimes, like, you don't even care about me right now. Like, it didn't feel like, yes, it was that I would have stayed. But on the other hand, dude, it was almost tough love. It was like, so it was because she's disconnected from my pain. She's in Miami. It's air conditioned and heat. It's beautiful. She sees she's got the kids around her. I have nothing. I mean, I'm wondering, where am I going to sleep tonight? Okay. Is this actually going to happen? So she's doing all her rah-rah. It really made me realize how I feel listening to me when I'm like, you can do it. Don't quit. Don't ever give up. And I'm on my jet, you know, and people are like, dude, you know, and I was in my pain, dude. I was in my pain and my discomfort and my vulnerability and mostly in my uncertainty. The uncertainty was like immense. And she's over there. You can do it. You can do it. She's in her cheerleader suit and I'm getting punched in the face every time I turn around. And I'm fighting the crew. And I don't think these people like me, don't think they want to be with me. So it was ugly, bro. Like, it was ugly. So on one hand, I tell me to stay in there. The only thing that really helped me stay in the deal, every time she'd say, do it for the haters. Every time she would do that, that's the one.
That's your love language. Do it for the haters.
That's my love language. I'm like, okay, rub that spot a little harder.
So you mentioned the Grant Cardone brand a couple times. What do you think this does for it?
Yeah.
And looking at, you know, the breakdowns and seeing you at your lowest lows, I think it actually strengthens it. I mean, part of my secret mission is to actually show the world that Grant Cardone is a good guy. You know, doesn't come up as much. But what do you think that does to? What do you think this show's going to do for your brand, showing that side of things too?
Yeah, I mean that'll be good. I mean, I hadn't actually thought about, okay, does that help the brand? I think it does. They're going to lay this show out over 12 weeks. 2 other women actually take the challenge on into the country. I didn't know that when we shot it. COVID shut it down. So they were going to start shooting that at the end of the year. So they're going to drop all 3 of these in season 2. So I think the fact that there's 2 women that come from different walks of life, that's going to open me up to a much bigger audience that I wouldn't get if it was just me doing the show by myself. I think people seeing me struggle will show people I'm human too, you know. Look, when you don't have a place to eat or piss or a place to sleep, you start meeting all the parts of that guy. People that are running into me today they see the life I'm living today. You don't see all the struggles I went through. In this show, you actually see the struggles I went through as a 25-year-old. You know, short of the drug addiction, you know, you see what I've been battling with for 35 years. Most people don't see. You don't see me struggling with money today, but you see me struggling with money on this show.
What do you think is the greatest lesson you learned from this whole experience?
People are like the lifeblood of, you know, everybody's future. You got to figure out how to get along with people. and you can't do anything. You can't do anything big alone. You got to have people. I learned a lot from doing this. Be grateful for everything you have, even the problems, because they can get worse. Don't try to get me all re-stimulated. I'm just starting to get over this thing.
You go where you want to go, man. I'm just asking questions. I love it. I'm so pumped for the show to come out.
Yeah.
When I heard you were the guy, I got super pumped because I think of all the people that I know, if you had to put like horses in the race of who I would want to see do it and who I would bet on, I'd put Grant at the front of that list. One, because you always throw yourself in to the scary big things. And two, just the advice that kept coming in my head was don't be afraid to talk to strangers. Like one of the pieces of content I keep hearing you say is don't be afraid to talk to strangers, and how people are so afraid to talk to strangers. And I know you love doing that. And I just thought you'd be perfectly armed to be able to go off and do this thing. So I'm excited to see. Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, and that's the other the other thing is a little bit of the unfair advantage in doing a show that most people probably when they watch it won't pick up is that's one thing I really did learn from this. Options. When I say success is my duty, that was a really big thing for me to learn in my own life. When you have options, you can sleep in. When you don't have options, you can't sleep in. It's an unfair advantage in this show. The 90 days actually creates an unfair advantage. The fact that it's being documented is an unfair advantage. That I know it's going to be released on TV is an unfair advantage. The everyday guy, dude, your story's not going to be released on TV. You don't have a 90-day deadline, and you're not going to pay $1 million. It's not going to cost you $1 million supposedly if you lose. In my case, the $1 million bet, the 90 days, and the fact that it was going to be delivered on Discovery Channel, which is going to be 1 million plus viewers a night, that gave me an unfair advantage, that most people don't have.
And when do you think you're going to hit the billion?
I was talking to Elena about that last night. I said, the kids are pretty much guaranteed a slot. I don't know if I have time, but maybe I do. I might. Who knows? I got to keep making the right investments. And
last question, because I know we're at time. Who would you nominate to do the show? Who you think could do a kick-ass job and get it done?
Yes, look, that's really a good question. I think about some of my friends that I've had on stages and do deals with. I don't think most of them would do the show. I know a couple of them were asked.
If this was the Ice Bucket Challenge, and at the end you got to nominate 3 people to do it, who would your 3 people be to say who you think?